Hello, my name is Dean Contover. This is a Current Buzz. Today we have Mark Cianci on. And Mark Cianci is the Chelmsford Animal Control Officer in town. There's two of them, but we have him today, and he's going to talk about dogs, cats, bears, coyotes, what you want to know. There's a telephone number we're going to put up on the screen for you. You can call that 24/7, specifically about barking dogs or anything else that you may want to talk about. But make sure you put that into your phone in regards to Animal Control Officer Chelmsford, and put that phone number, it's right there, and put that phone number in your phone and store it there. Because when something comes up, you won't have the number at hand and you have to look it up, but just put it in your phone and your contacts, and he'll be more than happy to answer any question, right, Mark?
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to return a call if I'm not available at the moment. Leave a message and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
And if it's an emergency, dial the Chelmsford Police non-emergency or 911 if it's a immediate emergency, such as a dog bite or something to that effect.
Or a bear roaming in your woods or something in the backyard.
Anything.
It's springtime now.
It's gonna be, our friendly bear will be out and about pretty soon, so we'll get sightings on them.
We're imposing on their territory.
We are. The amount of development going on in town, if you follow any Chelmsford news or any Chelmsford website page, the amount of development going on is eating up a lot of habitat. But the bear was here prior to a lot of this development, and you'll see him roaming.
Yeah, the other day on the Boston News, there was coyotes roaming in neighborhoods. What to do about that? If you see a coyote in your backyard, should they call you up or
yeah,
let it go?
You can always call. Absolutely don't approach. I mean, people love to take photos. Do it from a safe distance your window.
Do it on your deck.
Right. You know, something between you and the coyote.
Yeah, right.
You'll see them scavenging for food. I mean, for the most part, they hunt small game like rabbits, squirrels, things like that. They will take down deer or animals of that size in a pack.
Right.
But for the most part, they're not really dangerous towards humans or animals that are leashed. So during coyote season, when you start to see them come out, we recommend, you know, when you're taking your dog out at night, turn on a spotlight, make some noise. Let them know you're coming out, you know. Create some sort of havoc that will force them back into the woods. But keep a good eye on them.
Now, are there any wolves in the area?
We do not have wolves.
We don't have wolves.
No, as far as I know, and I've dealt with Mass Environmental Police who handle animals such as that, we don't have any wolves in the state of Massachusetts unless they're housed in a sanctuary.
I see.
Okay.
So they don't come down the spine of the Green Mountains or the White Mountains?
They will travel. I don't believe they travel that far south.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to ask you. Let's talk about dogs, barking dog specific. If you have a barking dog, especially in the springtime, like you said, the windows are open. We talked about this earlier. The windows are open. You hear the dog barking. And what should somebody do if they have a dog barking consistently?
So consistently, we need to make a record of the complaint of the barking dog. Now, dogs are given 15, 20-minute window to bark. If that dog stops barking for 10, 15 minutes and then starts again, the window starts over. But if it's constant barking, such as we discussed, that someone let the dog out, went in, took a shower, it's been 40 minutes, the dog's been nonstop barking. If I'm off duty, you can always contact Chelmsford Police, definitely non-emergency. Let them know, you know, they'll send a cruiser out, an officer will make his presence known, talk to the homeowner, and then forward a report to me, which I will follow up on.
So that would be number one?
Number one. If I'm not on duty, yes.
Okay,
if I'm on duty, contact Animal Control and they'll send me over.
You want it documented, you want to show a pattern?
Yes, documentation is very important no matter what animal complaint you have.
All right.
The more documents we have, the better it is. Let's say we could get, you know, we could talk to the owners and say, okay, now we're going to start fining you for the dog consistently barking. We've tried working with you. You know, you're not really making an effort. Now we have to fine you.
Right. That's in the house or outside, or both?
In the house is a little difficult. Like I said, you know, people start to open the windows about this time of year, so you will hear the dogs barking. But, I mean, even as a dog owner, you don't want your dog barking in your home constantly.
Right. All right.
I know people work, they leave the dog free roam, and it happens. But for the most part, it can be controlled. You can either use a bark collar or something similar.
Okay. All dogs have to be licensed? All dogs have to be on the leash in
the town of Chelmsford.
In town of Chelmsford.
So all dogs have to be licensed. We give a window from January to the end of February, March. And then we start penalizing people who don't license. So it's a $5 fee every month after February.
Why should people license?
Well, there's
the
several
criteria
reasons
there?
to license your dog. The first and foremost, if your dog gets out and is not licensed, I have no idea where it belongs. Now, your first offense, generally, if your dog has a tag on, I know it's up to date on rabies, I will bring it home. I will have a talk with you, let's say, listen, I know it gets out, it happens. If you don't license your dog, I bring the dog to the kennel, scan him for a microchip, okay? Right. No microchip, I hold the dog. I generally wait about 24 hours before I post a photo, hoping someone will call looking for it.
Right.
I mean, it gives me a scale of how concerned an owner is. And after that, there's kennel fees involved. So there's care and custody fees, there's a fine for being off leash, and so on. Fine for being not registered.
How much for a kennel fee?
Kennel fee is $25 a day, care and
wow.
custody.
Wow.
So when we bring
you have to feed the dog.
I have to feed the dog.
the town has to feed
Well, the town feeds the dog. I have to provide a bed, water, food. Right. I mean, you want to make the dog
that takes
stay
some time.
Correct, comfortable, but you don't want him to visit consistently.
Yeah, come back to the kennel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like the kennel. I'd rather be here than
exactly.
at home.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the license we were talking about, how much, and person has to be. The dog has to be vaccinated? Is that my
Yes, that's state law also. So a license cost, if it's spayed or neutered, it's $15.
Okay.
Okay, if it's not, it's $20. And it has to be up to date on rabies in order to license your dog with the town. So every February, the town and animal control, we put on a rabies clinic. Because sometimes the reason people don't license is the cost of the rabies and the clinic visit. So we do it at a discounted price, and we work with Chelmsford Animal Hospital, who's very generous in donating employees' times and the rabies.
Say that again. So they allow people to come to the hospital?
So, no, not the hospital. They come right down to our dog pound, our facility.
Okay.
Chelmsford Animal Clinic, Fred.
That's near the police station.
Yeah, you could say the police station.
Yeah.
The kennel's right next door.
Yeah, right next door. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know that. That's why.
No.
Yeah.
So he gets a couple of his workers to come down, and they'll administer the rabies. We'll license the dog right there, and then you're free to go on your way. And it's at a discount.
That's not bad.
No,
So
not at all.
what day is that? Is it?
It changes. It's usually the end of February every year.
Oh, end of February.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So do we have a veterinarian in town?
We have several. There's Banfield at PetSmart. There's Country Kennels up on Littleton Road.
All right.
And there's Chelmsford Animal Hospital on Fletcher Street.
Okay.
I try to work closely with all of them because depending on where a situation occurs, if it's the first animal hospital available, that's the one I'll go to.
So if you pick up a dog and it has a broken leg, you take it to the veterinarian.
We take it to a vet.
Who's charged for that? I'm sorry.
If the dog is licensed or
Right.
microchipped, the owner's responsible for that. I mean, the town's not going to cover the whole cost of an injured dog. So we have to that's another reason for licensing. You know, if a dog is injured and it has a tag and we have the time to contact the owner, sometimes they have a vet they want to use.
Oh, I see.
So they can come out, they can pick up their dog, and they can take it to their own vet. If I can't get in touch with it, I take it to one of our local vets.
And they accept it.
And then they would go to the owner to bill them.
Oh, they would bill the owner. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So is that for other animals also, for cats or anything?
Cats also, but cats aren't licensed. So you don't really know unless it's wearing a collar with a tag.
I see.
A lot of indoor-outdoor cats don't wear collars because they don't want getting hooked on anything like a stick in the woods or hung from a tree if it slips or anything like that.
You talked about chips. Explain the chips for people who don't have a dog, or potentially they want to get a dog. Should they chip or not chip the dog?
I would suggest chipping. It's always good to have a redundant safety system. So you have your collar. If the collar slips off and the dog is microchipped, state law requires every animal control officer, when he picks up a dog, to scan it for a microchip.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's not a GPS tracking system.
Right.
It simply gives you a barcode or a number code, and you can call chip manufacturers. They will have whoever's dog is on file. Now, if, let's say Home Again doesn't have that chip number on file, they'll suggest another tracking system. So you can hunt down the owner, and it'll have their contact information, name, the dog's name, the address. and you can return a dog that way.
How much does a chip cost to put in a dog? And
It
who
depends
puts
on,
it in?
well, your vets can put them in. Sometimes if your dog's adopted, let's say Lowell Humane would do it for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of rescues do it prior to adopting the dog out so they can track the animals they've rescued.
Huh. Okay. I've known about chips, but I didn't know in detail. So if you get a dog, more or less, if you have to pay a lot of money for it, you might as well get it chipped.
Correct. Yep.
If you're not paying a lot of money,
there's a lot of talk now of people stealing dogs from yards and using them for bait dogs for dog fighting. So if your dog is chipped and someone takes it and brings it to a vet and claims it to be theirs, if they scan it and that comes back to your address, they will contact you and say, did you give up the dog? Did they not transfer the information? So on and so forth.
Oh, wow. Why, is there a lot of dog fighting? Have you found anything in Chelmsford?
In Chelmsford, we have not.
Okay.
Thank goodness we haven't come across any of it. It doesn't mean it's not going on, but working in the animal control circles, you do hear of other towns' dogs disappearing on the regular or being recovered on the regular deceased, which is unfortunate. And there are ways to tell whether a dog was used as a bait dog, old injuries, scars on the face, the ears, such as that.
Oh, this is new to me. I've heard of chicken fighting. Have we had that
also
in
against
town?
the law.
Against the law, I know. Have we had any of that?
Again, I have not come across any of that, but I know some surrounding towns have.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
People bet on that stuff.
They do, and with the influx of different nationalities and people coming into town, where they come from, that's legal. That's heritage. They grew up that way. So to them, that's normal. And to us, it's a little different. It's not acceptable here.
Have you had people ask you if they can have
No, they wouldn't call and ask if that was okay.
I mean,
dog fights are off. No, absolutely not.
No, I've gotten off path, but I mean, this is interesting information in regards to town. Dog park. Let's talk about the dog park. I drove by there the other day. I saw you down there with a cruiser. Commotion or problems or dogs?
Well, like we talked about before, sometimes it's the people that are the issue. Sometimes it is the dogs. You get different sized dogs with different temperaments in a closed area. Sometimes the owner believes that one dog is more aggressive to their dog than it should be. And you do get your occasional bites here and there. So yes, I responded for a dog bite. You talk to both owners, you get both sides of the story, make sure both dogs are up to date. I write a report with my findings. If I have a repeat offender, a dog that's constantly being called on, and I find that dog at fault on a regular basis, we're going on a 3-strike rule, then that dog will be barred from the park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can get 6 months, no trespass. And that's handed down by the selectmen of the town.
Okay. Select board.
Select board. Sorry, yes.
Let's correct that.
Yes.
So the select board makes decisions.
Based on my reports and my suggestions.
Right. Sometimes what happens in regards to, you can impound a dog, and how does that happen with the select board, or you could do certain things?
Okay, so I wouldn't call it impounding a dog, but let's say quarantine for a dog bite, state mandates 10 days. If most people quarantine them in home, because if I quarantine it, we come back to the care and custody of $25 a day.
Right.
If you choose to quarantine it to save that fee, and I catch you walking a dog outside and not adhering to the specifications of the quarantine, then I can take the dog and quarantine it at our facility. So a quarantine would be no contact with other dogs, no play dates, no walking on the street. The dog is housed in home. You would, if you had guests, you would lock it up, so you limit the contact with anyone outside the home. If you bring it out to do its business, it's on leash, so you keep an eye on it, and then you bring it right back in. The whole theory is that you limit access so you can see if any rabies are transmitted, because rabies is transmitted through bite and saliva.
Right.
So you want to keep an eye on the dog's behavior, whether it becomes more aggressive, lethargic, and if that happens, then obviously you contact the vet and myself.
All right, let's talk about rabies in regards to what that entails, because a lot of people may not know what rabies entails in regards to being bitten by a dog and getting rabies. It's almost 100% fatal, if I remember.
Correct. Yes, it is.
Schooling.
It's a neurological disease. And depending on where the bite is on the body will determine the length of time it takes to travel to the brain. So it travels through the nervous system to
Right.
the brain and is usually fatal.
Right. Okay. So what? How is that corrected? By shots, I know. And,
Yeah, there's a series
into
of 3
detail.
shots. If
3
humans
shots.
are bitten, there's a series of 3 shots. I believe they used to take it in the stomach
Yeah,
with
I
a long. I
remember
heard the
that.
horror
Yeah,
stories
yeah,
about
yeah,
the long
yeah.
needle.
Yeah, I remember the stomach.
It's still 3 shots, and they're spaced out. So you
You
go.
know the spacing?
I believe it's immediately, and then 7 days, and maybe 14.
Okay. I
Don't quote
might
me.
have changed. Yeah.
There's
It
so
might
much
have
to
changed.
know
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I would
I'm
go back
sorry.
and look it
Yeah.
up. That's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So your series of 3 shots, and the doctors monitor you, and once you're done, that's it.
So if a young boy or girl gets bitten, call you right away.
Your pediatrician right away, myself right away.
Right.
Obviously, our concern is for the child's safety, so your pediatrician right away, me secondly. And I'll do a follow-up report. I'll see if the dog's registered, make sure it's up to date on its rabies. We'll quarantine the dog and make sure overall that the child's safety is at hand.
Right, right. And hopefully nothing happens because, like you said, it's 100% fatal. It's probably one of the diseases that's 100% fatal. People don't realize that, or maybe 99 point, something like that.
It is, and even the people that have survived have not survived it well.
I see. So any other animal, be careful also. They may
Yes.
have rabies.
Yeah.
If they're acting abnormal.
So bats are a major carrier. Raccoons are a major carrier. So those are some of these. Foxes occasionally.
Don't feed the raccoons in your backyard. Don't feed the foxes in your backyard.
Don't feed any wild animals.
Don't feed any wild animals.
Feeding wild animals in the backyard does a few things. It creates a dependency, so they
Right.
stop hunting on their own. Say turkeys, because I get quite a few complaints of feeding turkeys. Deer have such a stomach issue that feeding them people food or salt licks even as a bait can kill them. And then it creates, you're drawing turkeys, you're drawing, say, fox. You're also drawing predators because now they know where to go to
Right.
find turkeys.
Right.
So yeah, we advise not feeding any wildlife in your backyard.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to view,
Yeah.
but it'll pass through, and you want them to be able to sustain themselves.
Right.
Once you create a dependency, it's hard to get rid of them.
And deers bring ticks. And
Yes.
ticks bring
Lyme disease.
disease.
Yeah.
and other problems.
It is, but we have many possum in town, and possums eat ticks like endlessly.
Oh, good.
So as ugly as they are, they're a great help to the tick population. They eat ticks all day long.
Oh.
So they're great. We get a lot of complaints about possums in the yard, so on and so forth, but they are very helpful.
Oh, okay. So there's a balance in nature, and we should
Yes.
keep these animals.
There's always a balance
yeah,
with wild animals, yeah.
In regards to deers, right? You see them occasionally in the backyard.
We see them all the time.
All the
We
time.
have quite a few deer strikes every year by motor vehicle.
Oh, is that right?
It's unfortunate. A lot of the time it
So we call
it's
them road
fatal.
kills, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes. So part of my job is picking up roadkill, whether
Is
it be
that right?
skunk, possum, deer, so on and so forth. Yeah.
If you see a roadkill, don't put it in your truck and take it away and think you're going to get meat out of it.
No. In the state of Massachusetts,
Tell them why.
the only roadkill you're allowed to take is a deer that you strike. If you're from Massachusetts and it's your vehicle and you strike a deer, you're entitled to that deer, or some passenger in your vehicle
Oh, wow.
is entitled to that deer.
Okay.
But any other roadkill is very sketchy. I wouldn't be eating possum. I wouldn't be eating raccoon or beaver or anything like that.
I didn't know that in regards to deer. That's why you're on the show, Mark, because, deer kill. I didn't know that I could take the deer.
Yes.
But isn't there, you have to take it very early
Yes,
in the
right
kill.
away.
Right away.
You don't want a deer sitting for 2 or 3 days and
That's
then to
right.
pick it up
That's right.
and take it, because the meat is already spoiled. And depending where the strike happens, if it's in the gut, it ruins the meat.
Right, exactly. That's
And you
that's
want
the point I wanted to
someone who
get.
knows what they're doing when they butcher something
Right.
that's roadkill.
There are people who butcher it.
Yes, there are. A lot of hunters butcher their own meat.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's a roadkill, all right. The other day, well, it wasn't the other day. A few years ago, it was during the rut. There was a 6-pointer standing in the middle of the road, right? And I stopped, right? And I had the headlights on. What should you do if a deer is in the middle of the road? You should stop your car, of course. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, deer do phenomenal damage to vehicles.
Yeah.
It really takes a toll. But you want to stop, maybe beep your horn, shut your lights off.
Right.
Because a deer will freeze looking into headlights.
That's correct.
And where there's one, there's usually another. So if you happen along and a deer jumps into the road and you stop, wait a few minutes or a minute, because there's chances are another deer is coming along.
I see, okay. So toot your horn. That's
Absolutely.
a big thing. Make sure you toot your horn.
Yep.
And then go around it if you can, if it's still standing.
Well,
in the
it depends
road.
how long it stands there, yeah. But if you safely could, go around them.
Right.
And like I said, there's usually one or two standing on the side. So make sure you look. I would turn my headlights off, but leave my running lights on.
Right.
You know.
Were they good? What's the old saying in deer headlights?
A deer in headlights,
deer,
yes.
Deer in headlights. That's
It will freeze.
That's a true story.
It
Even
is.
with a flashlight.
Yep.
People go hunting with deer with a flashlight to freeze the deer, and they will try to eliminate the deer.
That is illegal too.
That's illegal
yes,
too.
that's poaching.
That's
not allowed.
That's poaching. So I just want to get that in, Mark. You know,
Absolutely.
I know that it does happen. But if, especially during the rut, which is in October, November, or is it November, December?
Towards the end of October.
Towards the end of October. If the deer is in the middle of the road, it's looking for a female deer.
It's either looking or following.
Following.
You definitely don't want to get out of your car and try to push them off the road.
Yeah, and they do unnatural things in regards to.
Well, they
Deer life.
take more chances than normal.
That's right.
Following,
that's
following
that's
a doe.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I just want to clarify that, Mark. You know,
And if you do strike a buck, you don't want to try to handle it yourself, because the horns, if the buck is still kicking and thrashing, the horns are very dangerous. Even the hoofs are dangerous. So you want to leave them to the side, call the police department again.
or protect them in regards to pull your car over
If you safely
wait,
can, yes.
and just wait there till it's. You're not going to be fined if you hit a deer or a deer hits you on the side, and that happens. It jumps
does.
on the side of the road and it'll crash into your side of the car, and people are stunned.
Yes.
It does happen.
Absolutely. Pull over. Take a few minutes to collect yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a lot to process,
Yeah.
especially when you're not expecting something to crash into the side of your car.
Exactly.
And they do make a mess.
Hopefully it won't happen to you. How many roadkills do we have?
A year?
A year.
As far as deer are concerned?
Yeah, deer are concerned.
Oh, if I had to guess, I would say somewhere around 20 to 30 maybe.
That many?
We do have a ton of deer in town, yes.
Where specifically? Any
All
place?
over.
All
Acton
over?
Road's good for strikes. Main Street's always good for strikes. Anywhere a deer travels, let's say they use the high tension lines as a corridor to travel
I
across
see.
roads.
Right.
So, yeah, you'll get them.
Watch for deer in the evening.
Mostly,
That's when they come out to
in the
feed.
evening. You might see a couple here and there during the day, depending on where they live and what their
Right.
schedule is and what they're eating.
Right.
But most of the time, our strikes occur at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. My only complaint is that at the high school area, people let their dogs go. They walk their dogs instead of going to the dog park, and they let them go into the woods right near where the high school is. And I don't know whether they defecate in the woods or not. You know, I was just wondering. You get fined if you don't pick up your.
Yes, you do. And I think a lot of people view it as, well, Chelmsford has a leash law, and it's 24/7.
Right.
Anywhere in Chelmsford,
Right.
dog must be leashed. But people believe because they're in the woods and the animals defecate in the woods that it's okay for the dog. Dog's feces carry, ringworm and heartworm and things like that. So even if you don't pick it up and somebody else steps in, it tracks it into a home where there are children or
Especially
there are other
with kids,
animals.
cross-country kids going
Yeah.
through the woods through the
high school students
Yeah.
travel through the woods
Right.
all the time.
Right.
I understand people being in the woods off high school grounds. Sometimes their dogs don't want to be, in the
Yeah,
park and
right.
playing with other dogs. But you still have to keep it on leash. You still have to pick up after it. And if I catch you, it is a finable offense. It's a town bylaw.
Right. Listen, Mark, anything you want to say in 15 seconds?